The Georgia Bulldogs are 7-0, ranked number 1 in the country. Things are looking good if you're a Georgia fan. Now, they're obviously off today or this weekend. Whenever you're watching this video, they have Florida and Jacksonville next weekend. So gave me some time to, think of, some videos to make. And of course, last week we saw Tennessee fans. They beat Alabama in Knoxville, stormed the field, took the goalposts, threw them in the Tennessee River. And it got me thinking, when is the next time Georgia fans are going to have the opportunity to rush the field? And for a number of reasons, I don't think it's going to be happening anytime soon. Number one, I think the biggest reason, right, is Georgia's on top. They're number one. They're looking down on everyone. And for a team and a fan base to rush the field, you have to be in a place where you're not relevant, right? You haven't beaten a team, in Tennessee's case, Alabama, in 10 plus years, right? There has to be something big, something monumental for fans to rush the field. And Tennessee is a program where they're very much at that level. They need big ones. They haven't been relevant in college football for over a decade now. Haven't beaten Alabama since who knows when. So, of course, when they did upset the Tide, they were going to rush the field, have a big party. It was basically their Super Bowl. Now, they're still at a point where if number one Georgia played at Knoxville in a couple weekends instead of Athens, and they were to beat Georgia, they'd rush the field again. A lot of programs would. If Kentucky beats Georgia in Athens, they're rushing the field. We saw it happen with Auburn a few years ago in 2017. They beat Georgia, who I think may have been number one at the time, number 1, 2, 3, whatever they were. I believe they rushed the field. They threw the toilet paper in the trees, that little weird kind of tradition they do. So when you beat Georgia or you beat Alabama, it's a big deal, and you rush the field. And in Georgia's case, the last time they did it was 2000. They beat Tennessee, I believe, 21-10 after losing to them throughout the 90s. I think they had a 10-game losing streak to the Vols. And if you haven't seen it, go look it up on YouTube. It is a crazy video to watch. I mean, Georgia fans ran onto the field. The game was still going on. It's something that will never, ever happen in today's college football and in Sanford Stadium. Another reason is the hedges, right? No one wants to climb those hedges, get onto the field, but Georgia's used to beating Tennessee. They're used to beating Florida. They're used to beating Tech and Auburn. The list goes on and on. So I don't think Georgia fans are ever going to be in a position anytime soon to where they rush the field because there was some gigantic win over a team that maybe they haven't beaten in a while. Because when you're number one, you look down on everyone. That's why Alabama hasn't been able to rush the field for a while, because wins are common. Right? They're not rare. They're not something that, barely happens. So they're not in a place where they're able to do that. Tennessee is, and South Carolina is. Basically everyone else, Arkansas, Ole Miss, Mississippi State, all these other teams in the SEC, when they beat Alabama, they rush the field. If they beat Georgia, they rush the field. So just something I noticed. Everyone loves the pictures, the videos were everywhere of Tennessee fans, and just, they were in heaven, right? And they broke down the goalpost, and it's a fun thing for them because, again, they're finally relevant in college football. They needed this win more than anything. They're used to losing. All they've done is lost the past decade. Now they have a team that they believe in, and again, they beat an Alabama team that is not the Alabama we're used to seeing. They played bad. This is one of the worst Alabama teams we've seen in some years, right? But it doesn't matter to Tennessee. They got the Alabama monkey off their back, stormed the field, and it hasn't happened in Athens in 22 years now, and it might not ever happen again. I do think that the Georgia program's in a place where they look at that as beneath them a little bit. You shouldn't be rushing the field, Sanford Stadium, between the hedges, hollowed grounds. That's not us, right? If we beat a team, we beat them, and, we act like we've been there before. That's what kind of the upper level people in charge at the university kind of say. But at Tennessee, they were encouraging it. And they would do it again this year if, Georgia were to play up there and they knock off number one Georgia in Knoxville. They're rushing the field again. And while it looks cool, I think most Georgia fans would say, you know what, we don't need to do that. We kind of don't want to do that because we're above it. And I think you're seeing that with a lot of programs. When you hit that elite level of program in college football, you don't do that anymore. So And it's nice to see it happen every once in a while across the country. It is cool. It's what makes college football the greatest sport in the world. But it doesn't happen often for a lot of reasons. Obviously, you have to beat a number one team or top 5 team. You have to play at home, so 50-50 chance. If you knock off a number one team, it's on the road. You obviously don't get that opportunity. Georgia beating Florida, if they were to play in Athens, I think they probably would have done something like that, maybe 97 or 04. But with that game being in Jacksonville, neither school is going to be able to participate in something like that. I think if Florida beat Georgia this year in the Swamp, they would rush the field. I can't remember the last time Alabama did something, or excuse me, Florida did something like that. But again, they're a program right now where they're able to do that because they're not super relevant and they do lose a lot of games and they're waiting for that one big win like Tennessee got. So just something I noticed. No one talks about Georgia's 55-0 win over Vanderbilt. All talk this week was against Tennessee. And again, if Alabama kicks that field goal and makes it, we're talking about how Tennessee blew a massive lead to one of their biggest rivals at home. But it worked out in their favor. Alabama played poorly. Tennessee still gave up a ton of yards, a ton of points. They came out on top, and they've got that memory. And it's something that I think Georgia fans are not going to be able to have because they're used to beating teams. And no one's going to come into Athens and Georgia gets so, up about it where they win the game and they rush the field. Georgia should not be in a position where they're unranked anytime soon. And this is usually a scenario where an unranked team, again, beats a top 5 team, so on and so on. No one's going to beat Georgia 10 times in a row anytime soon. So while it is cool it happened in Knoxville, looked like it was a massive party, just don't think it's going to happen in Athens anytime soon. If you were there in 2000 and you ran onto the field, you remember them taking the goalpost down. This is, of course, the last time they did in Sanford Stadium. Drop a comment in the comment section below. I want to hear about it. I'm sure that was a crazy time. Again, look that up on YouTube. It's something that seems crazy to think now. It would never happen. Never happen in today's Sanford Stadium. It just wouldn't allow it. And I think the hedges would be very concerning as well. There are not a lot of people who are going to climb over those hedges and get onto the field and survive it and have a little party like Tennessee did. Clemson fans run onto the field, but that's kind of a tradition. They do that after every game. And in Neyland Stadium, it's very easy. You just kind of go off that little 4-foot little rail thing that they got. It's very easy to go from stands to the field. So it's almost like they welcome it. But I saw some videos where people were just tripping over themselves to get on the field. You could tell they've never rushed the field before. I've never seen a win like that in Neyland Stadium, and people couldn't figure out how to get down on the field. And when they did, they were falling down on the field, people falling on top of each other. It's not the most athletic fan base I've ever seen up in Knoxville, but they found their way to fall onto the field and then run around and celebrate. Again, it was a cool moment for them. If you're a Georgia fan, I don't think it's going to happen anytime soon. Probably never in the Kirby Smart era because they're going to be a top 5 program for the foreseeable future. And I do see more national championships coming their way, so no need to do it. I don't see an opportunity for them to do it, but just something that I noticed. While other programs would love that opportunity, if you're Georgia and Alabama, it just doesn't matter, and they're not going to be in a position to do that, what we saw in Neyland Stadium over the weekend. Just something I thought about this week. Just wanted to kind of share with y'all. If you've run onto the field at a college football game, let us know in the comments section. Would love to hear that story, guys. Thanks for watching this video. As always, stay tuned to the next one coming up right now. I'll see you over on DAWGSTRUCTION.